Welcome into the latest edition of PL Express. Coming up, Manchester United's win, overshadowed by Cristiano Ronaldo sensationally speaking out about his situation at the club. That's probably going to be the bulk of today's show. Manchester City lost a game and ground in the title race. We'll ask if it's Arsenal's title to lose. And Chelsea have now lost 3 straight in the league. We'll be touching on that. And don't worry, we will be talking about Alejandro Garnacho as well. But let's get started, Janusz. Cristiano Ronaldo's tell-all interview with Piers Morgan dominating the headlines on Monday morning. Main pointers here: he feels betrayed. He's being forced out by the coach and a few others at the club, not just this year, but last year too. He doesn't respect the coach because the coach doesn't respect him. And then lost a little bit in some of this is stuff that people did know, in that he's criticising how the club just hasn't moved on since he left, the facilities, the technology that's used there. So where do you want to start with this? What was your reaction when you saw what he said?
I think the first reaction is something that we've been talking about here, right? Even early on, when there was just a little bit of hope that he may come good, right? We just felt that this wasn't a good move by Manchester United. And that's, the first problem lies with with Manchester United, for allowing him, Ola and his friends and George Mendes to get him back to Manchester United because nobody else wanted him, not at the money that he wanted and not at the level of play that he's been. And I understand. I understand that us mortals, it's difficult to understand when you're coming down from such a high and one of the greatest players ever. But I think you also have to know your sell-by date, and that there's going to be times where no matter how good you've been going forward, there are different solutions needed. So Manchester United, for me, are just as guilty and responsible as Cristiano Ronaldo. But, the first thing that came to my mind was, it felt like, hey, Manchester United, you're making me look bad and I don't like it. This is really how I got that. That's exactly what was happening, is that you hear from me and not the other way around, as it's something that I think we've known throughout his career, right? I mean, it's always about a team. There's no I in the team. But when it comes to Cristiano Ronaldo, he comes first and the rest is secondary, I feel.
So you don't like what he did? You think he shouldn't have done this?
Well, of course not. I mean, you see, it's calculated, even though he said it that he was going to do it. He says that the coach and the club hasn't shown him respect. Come on, give me a break. They showed him plenty of respect. I think Ten Hag, you and I talked about it last week and the week before, has let him down easy. He's given him all kinds of chances, even though, as I've said, it's calculated on Ten Hag's part as well. He knows that he cannot build Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think he's been very good to him. Better than I would be. And the timing of that is, of course, after Manchester United winning at the last moment at Fulham as well, where he was sick, given benefit of the doubt. He knew that he's by now not even second, maybe third choice, because Anthony Martial's back. He knows that in the big games he doesn't play. He only plays in Europe and maybe games that United feel they can win, maybe some home games. So he knew this was coming, and obviously this is his way of showing respect to the game, to Manchester United, to his teammates, present and former. I know it's harsh. Everybody's had their take on it, and everybody's jumping on Cristiano Ronaldo. But look, I mean, legends, the true legends, don't do stuff like that,
Yeah, I mean, for him, on his part, maybe he could say, this is my way of taking back control and being able to actually sit down and give my say on it and give my part on it. We talk about those games that he has played in, Janusz, though. Has he played his last game for Manchester United after this?
He should be. I mean, this is something that Ten Hag probably wanted to do right away, but he was smart enough and intelligent enough to know that he has to massage that, right? He's made some tough decisions, and that included Maguire, to some degree, Ronaldo, but he knew what such an iconic figure that you have to tiptoe around that until you find a solution. As we all know, they've been trying to unload him. Nobody really wants him. So you have this asset on your hand that affects your club and your team and this rebuild every moment, because everybody is talking about Ronaldo. Nobody's talking about Manchester United, Ten Hag, what they're doing or what they are not doing. And the truth of the matter is that Manchester United are doing well without Cristiano Ronaldo, and they'll probably do even better when he's done. I mean, look at this. That last moment win against Fulham, 5th place, close to where they want to be. It's not perfect by any means, but, you know, you have someone in the background that asks for attentions every second of the day. It's not easy to manage that. As Arteta, with Mesut Ozil, with Aubameyang, we've seen these situations before. And look, Cristiano obviously is a wonderful player, and he's been one of the best in the game. No questions about that. But he forgets about the team. And look at Real Madrid. They've been great before him, and they've been very good after him. Juventus has been winning before Cristiano Ronaldo has come. And even though they're struggling a little bit, I don't necessarily think it's because of Cristiano Ronaldo has left. That's a bonus, and they'll get it right. So when you look at everything, and if I were Cristiano Ronaldo, I'd ask myself a question. How did I get where I've gotten so far? Is it because I've won every trophy for Real Madrid, for Juventus, for Manchester United? Or is it because there are a number of players that helped me to get to the level I've been, right? Look, I mean, it seems to me that maybe playing individual sport would have been better, because then you have control over everything and you can do everything that you want. So certainly in the end, to do this right now, obviously he's saying sayonara. Thank you very much. This is it, right? I mean, Ten Hag, there's no possibility that he lets him play again. I mean, at least I don't see it. No possibility of that. And, you know, to sit down in an interview like this, again, look at me. I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. The whole world needs to listen. If you wanted to send a message like that, he could have done it through beat writers at Manchester United. He could have leaked that every which way. Yeah, nobody respects me here. The club's not right. Some of these may be right. You know, we're not there, okay, to know. But there's so many different ways. But he wanted that attention, right? I mean, to pick Piers
Morgan.
Piers Morgan, there you go. I almost thought I got it wrong. Pick Piers Morgan for that, right? I mean, it just smells of me again, because everybody knows that when it comes to that, he may be the one that gives you the most in terms of everybody looking at you, listening to you. I just think it's a bad look. I've always felt that way. I think we've always got pelters when we go against Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think it was easy for everyone to see. This is no surprise in my book.
So you, like you're saying, he could have put it out through beat writers. We know in a mix zone afterwards, he could quite easily say he's upset. We've seen him after Champions League finals saying he's upset. Is there not an argument to be made on his part, if I were to play devil's advocate, that he says, at least now I'm going to sit down, I'm going to say everything all in one place on a platform where I feel it will be released to everybody and everybody will get to see how I feel?
Oh, I think he has the right to do it. You asked me if it's a good look, and I think it's a better look. I don't remember the greats of the game doing that. And, you know, I'm not saying that they're all squeaky clean. They probably, you know, during their careers, the Maradonas, the Messis of the world, the Cruyffs, the Beckenbauers, they've had their grievances, of course. But I think there's just ways to do it. If you say that you love Manchester United and you respect, you're asking for respect while giving none to everybody else in the game. It's as if the only thing that matters is your happiness, and you throw everybody under the bus, rightly or wrongly. He can go out there and say, you know, but, you know, to say that that I don't even know who Ralf Rangnick is, come on, give me a break. A, you do know who he is, and B, if you're asking for respect, be nice. Be nice, because you knew exactly who Ralf Rangnick was. So in that interview, he didn't show, I just don't think that, you know, there's class that comes out of that from such a great player. And by the way, he's done a million things good off the pitch as well, and all that. So, you know, we have to talk about it. And I'm not looking for a different take that I haven't seen already, because we're you and I may be one of the last to react on this. But it's just pretentious and something that we've always felt, that Cristiano Ronaldo comes first, everything comes in second. That's the feeling I get. Now, even if this is a wrong take, you can't tell me that that's not the first take that 99% of people get when they listen to that.
But it's your take, Janusz, and that's what matters. That's why we're asking you. So obviously that's your opinion on all of what we see here. Now, what next for Cristiano Ronaldo after something like this? Because there's a lot of talk about there being, well, people saying there were no clubs interested. I'm sure there were clubs interested, but then you obviously know what comes with it, his wages, what it's going to cost to bring him in. Does something like this put potential other suitors off further than just wages?
Well, of course. I mean, the next thing I think afterwards, when it all settles down, I think there should be a reflection. If you're Cristiano Ronaldo, on yourself, you look back and you say to yourself, "Yes, I've had a great career. Yes, maybe it's not over. I still want to play," which he has the right to. And if you look at him, the way he's trained, the way he's looked after himself, he can certainly play. But now he's got to realize that maybe the top level is not going to be looking at him. Not because of the interview, not because of his character, because I don't think overall it's terrible, but I think they just understand that there's a little bit of a baggage that comes in. Do you think that's going to change even if he goes somewhere to play for free? The wages don't matter. Even if he offers himself to play for free, he's still going to want to be the focus of the team. He's going to demand that he plays all the time, every game. And you can't have that at the highest level of football. You just can't.
Let's talk about a young star then who is shining. If Cristiano Ronaldo is a star that probably will be moving on from Manchester United, one name that everybody's talking about right now is Alejandro Garnacho, and rightly so, because it's been quite a few weeks for him. What exactly are we witnessing here, Janusz?
A young player that scored a couple goals and has a lot of promise, and he was still trying to figure out what it is to be at a big club and a big time football. As we know, he's had his issues already with a little bit of an attitude, and that's a learning process, I suppose. This is quite the opposite of Ronaldo. Maybe sometimes an attitude saying I'm good and I need to play, and there's zero issues I have with that. When you're young and you feel that you're good enough, you want to play. But I think we just have to wait. The last thing he needs is the pressure from you and I and everybody else to perform right now. It's a tricky situation, as we know, with the club, with Manchester United, even aside from Manchester United situation. I think Ten Hag is starting to get his arms around the club, but I don't think we're 100% sure yet what success will mean under him in the near future. We will see what happens with the board and with the owners, because the one thing that you got to give Cristiano Ronaldo, which is right, is that club has not been run properly. Even if you take the owners aside, the structure of it, that's something that he's right about, although I'm pretty sure he knew what he was getting into it, right? This is not just happening overnight. When he re-signed with United, he knew. But I think if you look at Garnacho, I think there's promise, there's a lot of talent, but let's see if there's consistency, if he can do it game in and game out when the time comes, when he does get those chances.
So let me just end there, because it's just something you picked up on that it's reminded me of with Manchester United. Yet started to pick up under Ten Hag. We can all see that. What suggests to you that he can continue to build on this and it won't go back to what we saw under the previous coaches, and that Ronaldo won't be able to stay at the end? See, I told you, in the way that now people are looking at what Jose Mourinho said, that the achievements that he had with Manchester United were up there among the best achievements. What suggests to you under Ten Hag that maybe things are moving forward finally for Manchester United?
I think that there are players that are there when he came in that are getting a little bit better, right? And I think his management of the players and of the team that's currently, I mean, this is not the end product. Let's look at, I mean, even yesterday I was watching that game, and you say to yourself, well, I mean, no Ronaldo, which he would have been an option if he was available. And as we all know, after everything that we've said, he's still capable of coming in and changing the game. No Jadon Sancho, no Anthony, key players, right, in a game like this, which was very, very important. Even if they drew in the end, I think United would look at it at maybe not the best way to say goodbye for the season for the next 45, 46 days. But they did find that win without 2, 3, maybe 4 key players. Dalot, obviously, was suspended as well. And we saw Malacia playing right back, struggling in that game, but they found a way. So I think the toughness and not being afraid of making decisions from Ten Hag is very, very important, because there's got to be somebody that not only stumps his foot, but also people listen upstairs, right? Because Ralf Rangnick, when you think about it, I also thought of him in such a way, and he was trying to do it. He just didn't have the strength to go through it in a way, and ultimately people upstairs didn't listen to him, not enough anyway. But I think in Ten Hag, I think he's the sort of figure that you listen to and maybe you're a little bit afraid of, which ain't a bad thing if you're a player or a director.
All right. Arsenal have a 5-point lead at the top of the table going into this break for the World Cup. Manchester City lost. We can touch on that in a minute. But Janusz, you're going off on a little break yourself. It's not a break for you. You're going off on some World Cup action. So I am revisiting a question I've put to you throughout the course of the season so far in PL Express, but I'm going to add a little bit more to it. Can we now say that the title is Arsenal's to lose? Are they title favourites now?
We can say that they are contenders because you've been asking me for the title.
But what does contenders mean to you, Janusz?
No, what it means that they're in a fight for the title, but it's
okay.
But it's not theirs to lose. The title is Manchester City's to lose, even after the setback against Brentford.
Even with a 5-point lead at the top of the table from Arsenal.
Yes, because you know the one thing that I need to see is the 2 games against Manchester City. Let's not forget, 1 game would have happened by now, and that's key. And we don't know what Arsenal and Mikel Arteta are going to lose in those massive games, right? And when you look at the 2 teams, there is a vast difference in talent and quality still. Arsenal are in a great way, but to say that it's Arsenal to lose, in my book, is irresponsible, really, to be quite honest, because I think 5 points is nothing. We've seen Liverpool in the past come back fight with Manchester City being 12, 13, 14 points, whatever it was last season or the season before. I mean, it's nothing for Manchester City. We haven't seen Arsenal struggle yet, which they may not. And, you know, if they win everything they're supposed to win and get a result against Manchester City, then Arsenal will be the title winners. But no, I'm not ready to concede. However, I am changing my mind. I love what Arteta has done. And I think they're actually title contenders, because in the past, when you asked me that, I don't remember saying that they were.
Yeah, I remember we had a bit of a grey area as to what we defined as contenders. So you think that more definitive conclusions have to be made once the 2 have faced one another?
Yeah, I think those games will decide. I think Arsenal are good enough now where, you know, you look at that game against Wolves, man. I look at that game and I wonder if I had the ability to speak with Mikel Arteta and ask which win or which game he enjoyed the most, I wouldn't be shocked if this win against Wolves would have been the one, right? Or very close. There are bigger wins, of course, against bigger teams, but I think just before the break, for the momentum, I mean, it was charged atmosphere. It was one of those games late. Usually you don't play it, at night on a Sunday like that. You could see the desperation, first against last. Wolves waiting for Julian Lopetegui to come in. He was in the stands. You could see actually Wolves attacking and playing well. The game was played in transition, which I was surprised to some degree that Arsenal allowed Wolves to play like that. Not just in transition, but play as much. It was back and forth, and I'm thinking, no, Arteta doesn't like to play that way. He needs more control of the game. But I think he played in both ways, on both sides of the ball, and ultimately found a way to win. I think this is one of those wins that Arteta is going to be putting on that backboard, on that whiteboard, and saying, remember this game, because it was an important win against a team that was up for it.
30 million for Martin Odegaard is looking like a bargain now, isn't it? How much more is he worth right now?
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a surprise. Again, you asked me, we've talked about young players before, and I remember when he was coming on the scene, and you know that very, very well because it was a Real Madrid, and we were thinking, I mean, wasn't he like Haaland to some degree? I mean, I remember.
There was so much excitement about him. His father was deciding a lot for his career. So you could easily make the comparisons, obviously, the Norwegian.
And it takes a little bit of time to find yourself. But I think the most important thing in terms of finding yourself is an environment, right? The environment for a player is crucial, because sometimes you hit it right with the team and sometimes you don't. It's because maybe the pressure or how big the club is. But Real Madrid, usually, I associate them that you kind of have to come in ready. You have to come in ready and experienced to win titles, which is not an easy thing.
And which is where the difference is with Haaland, because obviously that was managed so well. As he got better, the clubs got better.
He got that experience, of course, as well. But I think if you look at Odegaard, the process with Arsenal, I don't feel there was pressure, right? I mean, Arsenal fans will tell you otherwise, but I think everybody understood where Arsenal were. I mean, finishing 8th in 2 seasons and just kind of growing, introducing young players around them. So, I mean, anybody that understands football would say, yeah, what sort of pressure? When you have young Martinelli, when you have Saka, when you have Saliba, now you bring Odegaard into it. Emil Smith-Rowe, who's been injured, but who's going to be a significant part of that team as well. So it's that camaraderie, young guys kind of saying, hey, this is cool. I mean, we can bring Arsenal back. And you know what? There is no pressure because there really isn't. There really isn't pressure on Arsenal. The pressure is just beginning to mount. So I think in terms of Odegaard, you put him in that environment, a true playmaker who's protected very well by 2, in my opinion, very experienced players, and Xhaka and even Thomas Partey, who can kind of roam and does get the license to kind of say, you make the game for us. You understand that no matter where you play, somebody's going to latch onto it because we have so much mobility, so much understanding, so much pace, so much ability to take players one-on-one. So because you have that, if you're a playmaker like Odegaard, you can take a risk that you otherwise wouldn't take, right? I mean, because you can kind of play these tricky balls and thinking, you know what, these guys are going to get there. Because you assess every time you have the ball, I always remember thinking, do I want to play the ball here to that player or that player? Yeah, that player may be able to hold on to it a little bit better. I don't think that exists. It's just these youngsters that are at the high technical level who just need a little experience. So he's been absolutely tremendous. And no, I don't know if I saw that coming.
I wonder if we saw what happened to Manchester City come in. What went wrong for Erling Haaland on the day? Because granted, the service wasn't the best, but was he at his best? Just 21 touches all game.
No, he wasn't. I mean, I think you probably got that same feeling. I mean, this was one of those games where for the first time in a long time, I thought that Manchester City were a bunch of strangers. I don't know if I said that ever, and I'm not sure how many times I'm going to say that again. Probably not many. It just almost seems to me like Kevin De Bruyne was forcing balls into Haaland, even if the pass wasn't there. This was the time when if somebody's going to question, let me put it this way, I don't think they're one-dimensional because of Haaland, but there are times in the game where they almost look for him too much when things aren't going well. And that's not Manchester City way of playing. We've said that before. Manchester City were successful before Haaland, and I think if for some reason he wasn't available for, say, 5 months, not that I wish him that, I think Manchester City would be just as successful. Because the best Manchester City for me is the one that is constantly looking for solutions. And there's almost no other team that finds these incredible solutions through combination plays where everybody thrives and is dangerous, right? Liverpool has done that in the past, but Manchester City have been tremendous with that, playing how many false nines did they have in the past? With Haaland, sometimes I think they're looking for shortcuts. Don't you get that feeling? Instead of those solutions, yeah. And he is a shortcut.
It must be hard not to as well sometimes.
Right. Well, but that's why sometimes there's going to be games where it's not necessarily that Haaland hasn't played well. It is because they didn't go through the normal process of building the play and finding that perfect pass. And Kevin De Bruyne is the best at it. Bernardo Silva is very good. I think in that game he struggled because, again, I don't understand why he plays in the front three. Not saying that he can't, but the last 2 or 3 times that he's played in the front three, Manchester City has not played well. Why? Because he needs to be on the ball. He's another De Bruyne in a different way. If De Bruyne doesn't see it, you bring Bernardo Silva centrally, and he can beat anybody anywhere, and he can find any pass anytime, right? I like him much better when he goes, plays more in the midfield, by the way. So it was just one of those games where it really felt like they were strangers.
Speaking of one of those games for Man City, it seems to have been a few of those games now for Chelsea. Let's be realistic here. Do you think they're going to miss out on the top 4 come the end of the season?
The easy answer would be to say yes, but I'm not willing to do that. I have too much respect for the quality of that team, and I think if anything, this break maybe comes at the right time. This is going to be the most important time in Graham Potter's life, at least up until now. He's going to have a month to assess what's happening with his players. And the reason I don't want to say that is that aside from all the problems, and mainly scoring, and that's he's got to fix, we may or may not have time to talk about that, but I think recover the key players. I mean, I think Reece James, if he comes back quickly enough, Ben Chilwell, if he comes back quickly enough, if N'Golo Kante comes back to whatever level he can come back, I think there's still enough talent there for them to grind. Because the one thing that I like about Chelsea over the years, they've never, to me, I mean, at least recently, have been this great team that plays this unbelievable football, right? When I think of Chelsea, I think of a bit of a machine. It's not always pretty, but they get it done. They find ways. They find ways to stay in the game and win. And I still think of that team in that way. And if they recover everybody, I can see Chelsea still being in that fight, because I still don't see Manchester United as a great team, you know, and who's up there? Spurs. I still don't think it's a team that's going to be, wow, you know, winning the next 5 or 6 or 7 games straight. So I think some of the teams above them will give them an excuse to get back in the fight.
You think the World Cup break's coming up the perfect time then for Graham Potter and Chelsea, given the recent run of results?
Yes, because I think there's going to be pressure. I think there's going to be inward look by Todd Bowley and everybody else, because I think everybody understands that things aren't right. I think they understand that the issues of not scoring under Thomas Tuchel continue to be there. I don't necessarily see how they will change with the players that he has right now. Again, Aubameyang's been struggling. We saw that in the last game. We saw how he looked on the bench in a big game, not starting in that game. Kai Havertz, I think it's unfair to think that he's going to be a goal scorer that scores 20 plus. And then we can go on and on and on. Obviously, get the best out of Sterling. That's something that he's going to have to figure out during the break. And then will come the transfer window, which I think may be important for Chelsea. They may have to get a player or two just to give the rest of the team kind of feeling, all right, we can do this.
Okay, I've got a quick Liverpool in for you, because obviously we knew we were going to go along with some topics today. So Darwin Nunez shining again. Yes, it was a hefty price tag. It was a slow start as well. But are we seeing that people were too quick to draw conclusions on this player? One. And are you starting to trust Liverpool again?
Liverpool, yes. This is the best we've seen Liverpool in patches in that game in a long time. Still lacking defensive stability. I mean, a lot of chances. I thought, I mean, the Saints had their say there. This wasn't a one-way traffic, and we all know that in order for Liverpool to be back to where I'd like them to be back, they have to have that defensive stability. No questions about that. That's not there yet, for sure. In terms of Nunez, yeah, he's proven everybody wrong. I mean, he's a goal scorer. He's always been a goal scorer, and I think Liverpool are going to be more than happy with him. And once Diogo Jota comes back, Luis Diaz comes back, you see now Firmino, you see 3 number 9s playing for Liverpool, right? And you're going to have added bonus of those 2 players that I've mentioned. I think going forward in all those competitions, formidable force. So I'm happy for Darwin Nunez. We are all too quick to judge players sometimes. Sometimes we get it right. It's one of those things when you throw 50 darts at the board, sometimes you hit a bullseye, right? That doesn't mean that you were right all along. But I didn't necessarily have massive doubts about Nunez.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, Janusz, we're going to wave goodbye to you for just a little while, because obviously the Premier League's stopping. So the show will be back once it picks up. We're going to have a World Cup daily show, ESPNFC Daily coming. But we wish you well on your travels off to Qatar. And we look forward to hearing more from you there. And we look forward to having you back here on PL Express at the end of the World Cup.
Thanks, Kay. Thanks for all your help, as always.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.